Greetings, Earthlings. It's your boy Greg Farley, aka Pegasus, and I'm here with another video. This time we're going to talk about rogue options going into the summer, the North American World Championship qualifier, and beyond. Many of you guys know BLLR is coming out, Battle of Legends. I think it's called Relentless Revenge this time. But I wanted to talk about rogue options as we see a few popping up in distinct areas. The Central American World Championship qualifier in Germany as well. You're going to have an uphill battle if you try to fight without having engages in your deck. Let's just get that out of the way and make sure that we understand. But in getting into the certain deck list that you can run, that you can maybe stand a chance of competing or at least topping, this is what we see as we let some of the graphics roll across the screen. You see the Central American World Championship qualifier. Clearly the most dominant deck is Sky Striker Trickstar, as our other video broke down. You can watch that on our page as well. It topped, and I think it took 44%, if I'm not mistaken, as you see another graphic coming across your screen. But in jumping straight into what we think can top, as you see the certain decks sneak in there. You see a Dino, you see a Mech Knight invoked, but our choices are as follows. As we saw over the weekend in Altoona, a Burning Abyss deck actually topped. It was very informative and very interesting to see that Dante won't die. Dante just won't go away. He's been here for what, 4 years now, 5 years now, and he's still rolling. Possibly we might get Cherubini. That's left to be found out. We don't really know. I would doubt it at this point that they would let you know this late, as there's only 2 weeks before the North American World Championship. But it did top a regional. I mean, the regional was, oh, it's not YCS. It's not, well, tops a regional. It was a good deck, and it was pretty well thought out, well crafted, if you, for lack of a better term. But getting into grind games, it's always going to have a slight way to keep up with a deck that's so fluid and consistent, as you can grind it back down to where the consistency fades, excuse me, and then you're back into playing Yu-Gi-Oh and having interactive game states. And when you get decent players with interactive game state, then suddenly it's not going to be so easy to take that person out. However, if you do get engaged rolling, most of the time you're going to out-resource somebody and just blow them out of the game. That's Yu-Gi-Oh. That's happened with every elite deck. But if you do remember, Burning Abyss beat Necros. Obviously, it's not the same Burning Abyss deck, but it beat Necros head-to-head. And it's the same thing. It was consistency versus grinding. Burning Abyss won that. So Burning Abyss is a rogue option if you just don't want to play anything related to Sky Strikers. Even though, in our opinion, and my opinion, I think Sky Striker is kind of healthy for the game. Trickstars isn't. Don't shoot the messenger. And jumping into the second deck, as you see it coming across the screen now, is Mech Knight Invoked. Also, there's another subset or sub-variant that I've seen top in Ireland, and that is Sky Striker Mech Knight Invoked. The bottom line of it all is there's a new quick play, World Legacy Memory, if I'm not mistaken, which can help you special summon Mech Knight Blue Sky out of the deck. Now, clearly, you're going to need more than Blue Sky to be able to keep up with Sky Striker Brandish. I keep getting the urge to say Brandish, but it's not Brandish anymore. But Purgatrio and that quick play and the ability for Purple Nightfall to move out of the way are the reasons why I could foresee someone playing Sky Striker Mech Knight Invoked and doing well with it. It did well in Ireland already. Even though Ireland's not as big as our tournaments are, it still was a relatively decent sized tournament. Also, in the German Nationals, which had over 1,100 players, they had a guy in their top 8. Now, you know, with what we saw in Italy, and I'll try to share that video on the page as well. Sometimes with decks, you know, you're just wondering how it got there. And when you see somebody cheat on stream, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Go look at a video. I think it's the top 4 of the Italian Nationals. The guy cheated blatantly on camera, and it was really just, it's a shame for the game. And taking an aside really quick, if you need to cheat at Yu-Gi-Oh, what's going on with your life? Let's have a Dr. Phil moment. What's going on with your life? Is it that deep to chase clout? Is it? Is it that important? We all want to win. We all want to play. We want to win. I mean, unless you're a casual player, and that's just having fun, which I understand casual players, and your game needs them. But why cheat? And then on top of that, how can you be so stupid to cheat on stream? You have a recorded testament of you cheating on stream that someone's eventually going to catch, even if nobody caught it in the venue or the first 10,000 people that see it online. Someone's going to catch you and call you out on it, and then they have the record of you cheating right there. So why cheat? That's neither here nor there, but it's just irritating. It's really irritating, and you got to be stupid to cheat on stream anyway. If you cheated all the way up there, then just cheat, take your loss, because you're probably going to lose, and that guy lost anyway, and just lose. It's not that big of a deal. Yu-Gi-Oh is not that important to life. We all love it, but it's not that important. Enough is enough of that. Jumping straight back into the list, though, as I touched on Mech Knights, I think enough. You can finesse some things around and figure out how you want to run the deck, but there's different things that you can do. But Purgatrio, being able to clear through Brandish if they don't have a Widow Anchor, is definitely a strong option, and they like to go second anyway. Dino is number 3. This isn't in any order, but Dino is a strong option because of Overtex and because of UCT being the best boss monster of all time. Really, I put it above Dark Destroyer. I can't think of another main deck boss monster that did so much and was so powerful and could do so much damage so quickly. But when you combine that with Overtex and with the ability to keep searching Pill because of Overtex and to keep rolling off of each other, Dino is a strong option. I've also seen Dino Sky Striker. I don't think it's consistent. It could work. It could work if somebody really cared about it like that. But the big dinos in your hand would cause that not to work. I'm sure someone will figure it out eventually, as Dino is a popular deck among rogue option players, as it can win a game rather quickly. But we'll see what comes of that. Next up, a shout out to YG Baby, Seto Kaiba, Alan Nails, aka Yu-Gi-Oh Denzel, with Blue Eyes. Now, Sky Striker Blue Eyes is a strong option. It's a strong option. Nobody's quite figured it out. A few people have, and we're going to keep that under wraps. It's out of respect to them. But Blue Eyes and Sky Striker Blue Eyes, they're strong options. Now, Blue Eyes inherently, in a vacuum, in a theoretical vacuum, has a chance to drop 3,000 boss monsters just straight onto the field repeatedly. And when you keep putting out strong monsters, a la another deck that'll be on this list, it's hard for your opponent to deal with. Now, granted, they can make certain plays with Widow Anchor and play around certain things, but when you have things like Return of the Dragon Lords engraved or Gospel of Revival engraved, it's gonna make it kind of hard to deal with. I've seen certain boards with Hope Harbinger that involve Hope Harbinger with a Return engrave, and when you partner that and you put that in versus Sky Striker, it's kind of a rough go of it. But if you open a multi-roll, that kind of ignores that. But the 3,000 beaters is the main problem, is that it's going to keep coming, because Blue Eyes will keep doing it over and over and over again until they end the game. And also the Dragon Spirit of White Banish in the back row can maybe catch you if you're not careful. So again, trust me, Blue Eyes is a strong option. Next up, Pendulum Magician. Pendulum Magician. Now, I'm not saying Pendulum Magician specifically, I'm just saying Pendulum in general. Don't think the Metalfoes is ever going to do anything. It's not. It's probably not. You can kind of give that up if you're a Metalfoe lover. But in touching on some of the decks that you've seen online, there's some troll guy that's pretty good that's playing a Doriato deck. I don't know too much about that, but all I know is about the Ash and Droll combo, and I'm not a Pendulum player anyway, but it's apparently he made a little bit of noise with it, with a 60 card variant, but it's also topped in other countries. I think in Germany and in Central America, Pendulum Magician was into the top cut, and I think one made it to the top 8. I'm not sure which one. It was in one of the charts. But Pendulum Magician is definitely a viable option. I also think some kind of variant that can include or incorporate Persona Dragon, Odd Eyes Persona Dragon, which is an extra negate on top of the ones that they already have, is definitely a strong option as well. So when you take into account the fact that already Pendulum Magician already had all the negates, that didn't really change. It just kind of, it faded away because of the Astrograph thing, and if Astrograph getting banned took it completely out, then it just did, but it's still there. And so I haven't really dug in as to why that happened, why it's still topping, but it's still, pendulum summoning is still a broken mechanic. It's still, they've knocked it down once and then took the power plays away from it multiple times and then handed it back and then took it away again, and it was still doing okay in certain formats. So pendulum is always gonna maybe have a certain type of deck that sneaks in there, whether it was Klee a few years ago, even though that's not really a pendulum deck, it was in that category, obviously. Mermail's next. Mermail is my pick. I think that's kind of something that I've liked in testing because I have a friend and a teammate and then a few of my local players. Shout out to Collector's Cash and Game Cafe and Action Sports and Guerrilla Games, all the local stores. But those are all in Kansas City, by the way, the Kansas City area. If you're ever in town, check them out. But Mermail is one that's very popular here, and so I have a different take on it. I get to see it all the time. But the Gumblar Dragon, I think it's going to be changed the name to Gamble Dragon. It's a new topologic card that it rips cards from your hand and it burns you. And my thought process the first time I saw it is, I saw my teammate consistently almost extra linking me or making a Trigate, some kind of board that involved linking a lot. And I was thinking, if he can extra link me and drop that card, the Bomber Dragon, or the Gamble, I want to keep wanting to say Brian Gumble or something, I don't know. But the Gamble Dragon is a strong option. Now, if you can think about all the plays, maybe I think if you open Teus and Goons, you can almost extend into it every single time. I think it revolves around Abyss Teus. I don't know too much about Megalo. This is all again from memory, but in thinking about it, I think that Mermail has a strong possibility of doing something at Nationals. You know, clearly it can pick through boards, and it kind of faded for a while because of True Draco. Obviously, it couldn't do anything with Masterpiece. And then the back row was live, and it would hit you hard. And again, I think Widow Anchor throws a little monkey wrench in a few of these decks, but it's still an option. Sorry, I saw somebody walk by. I kind of sit in front of a storefront window. But the OTK potential is the one that stuck with me. Is going first, you can rip cards. Going second, you can OTK someone. You know, there's not a deck that's that comfortable at going first or second, except for the meta decks, obviously. And then the Rogue option, this is the only deck that consistently does not care about going first or second. It can do both pretty fluidly. So can Pendulum, but I think this one does a pretty good job as well. Obviously, you know, we have new decks. The Golden Castle of Stromberg deck. I'm going to we'll go out on a limb and say that if you mix Stromberg into those like jank decks, the Grand Maju type stuff, obviously it banishes for cost, like Pot of Desires, 10 cards every turn. I'm not sure if it was face up or face down, but I'm gonna run the card across the screen. I think Golden Castle of Stromberg might be one of those decks where it might shock you. As I can see, this is just in thinking, just sitting here thinking about it. I think someone could make some kind of Grand Maju turbo deck that you could just shock the world and attack people for game with a full board, you know, pretty easily. Thinking of Grand Maju with that card and a Pot of Desires and this and that and the 60 card variant, maybe you could do an awful lot of damage very quickly because so many things are banished and you're able to do damage, obviously with either Millions, so on and so forth. You know, you could see those banished heavy decks getting a power play they can definitely take someone completely out. So that's me going out on a limb. It may not happen at all. It may happen. You know, just look out for it if you're a Nationals. And obviously you could maybe tech in something else with the Sky Striker stuff. You know, you could maybe move stuff out of the way to clear space to start to go for game. Who knows? That's up to you, the builders, the deck builders, and the random rogue that you'll run into if you're playing meta. World Chalice, I like World Chalice. It bricks too much. That's my issue with it, but it's always a rogue option that's very popular. Lastly, and certainly not least, we have two decks that one I play both of them, but one was very near and dear to a lot of people, and Cosmo. Now you think Cosmo, what in the world, Cosmo? And then you think about how hard it is for certain decks to get over cards, like if you want to think about Dark Destroyer, Dark Eclipser not so much. They can deal with it, and you don't have to deal with it floating, but they do get to add. Dark Destroyer, being able to just destroy something in the middle of your turn. And you think about Cosmojo, you think about Forerunner. Obviously Cosmo always had consistency issues, but the fact that Widow Anchor becomes irrelevant in that matchup is interesting. The fact that you float down into a Slip Rider, it's interesting. It's you know, I could also see a Sky Striker combo somewhere in there, you know, with a Cosmo Town and getting to blow your own field spell up and blah blah blah. That would take a lot of sitting down and theorizing with, but the main thing is that big untargetable monsters that you're going to struggle to deal with, you may lose before you get to that point. You know, that remains to be seen. Nobody's really done it, but I have seen one or two sneak into top cuts at regionals on a regional level. Now bigger tournaments, that obviously they're going to slide out of the top cut because consistency wins, and Cosmo is definitely not consistent. At least not anymore. At least not with one Dark Destroyer. You're probably not going to get there. But a Forerunner is still a bit of a hassle for people. And last and certainly not least, as it already has shown, and shout out to Simo, I actually watched one of his videos, True Draco. People are still working on True Draco. They haven't quite figured it out yet, but I foresee something, either the Erupt version or the Reaper version. Either one, you're going to have a bit of an issue with True Draco. They're going to react to everything that you do. Their card advantage is insane. Yeah, you know, Demise still exists, and then people know that deck backwards and forwards to where they know exactly what to do, and the skill cap isn't all that high where you can't play it. Almost anyone can play it, and if somebody good has it in their hands, then there's definitely an issue. And there's cards like Shared Ride, I'll share this picture that's coming across your screen. You can see their main deck Shared Ride. It's a little bit weird, there's no terraforming, but this topped, it's a gentleman, I forget his name, but it was a gentleman in Germany that top 64'd with this exact build. So again, I wanted to say I appreciate you guys. Those are all the options that we saw. Again, you're gonna have a big uphill battle if you don't have engages or something related to Sky Strikers in your deck, but for today, that's what we came up with. If you have any others of your own, make sure you share them on the page. I think Altergeist is a meta deck, so I didn't even put it on this list. Altergeist is obviously a very, very strong contender. If you can remember our other video, we didn't have a top 5, but we still said it was right there. So obviously a good Altergeist player is going to be a bit of an issue for you because there's so many starters and there's so much trap advantage that it can build, but if it falls behind, you know, Altergeist dies a horrible death. So shout out to you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Any other video ideas, you'd let us know in the comments. Any decks that you think can make some noise, let us also know. YG baby.